Assalamu alaikum, welcome to my third video on derived Arabic verb forms. In today's video we're going to be looking at form 3 and also form 6 as they're quite similar in the way they look and also in terms of their meaning, so they're quite useful to study together. So as we've already seen, we've looked at form 1. We're going to take this example, which is qatala, which means to kill. And then, as we know with form 1, often the middle vowel is the one that we have to learn. So in this case, it becomes yakotulu. So if you're not too sure about this, you can go back and watch my first video in this series. We then looked at form 2, so where we have to put the shadda on the middle letter. So then we have qatala. And what this does to the meaning is it intensifies it. So we have qatala to kill, whereas qatala means to like really kill something or to massacre something. So it intensifies the meaning quite often. And then yuqatilu, yeah. So this then becomes how we say he massacres. So again, all of the verb forms and the information on how to conjugate them are in my previous videos. So you can just go and check those out. And then here we are on to our new topic. So form 3 is sort of makes it more like you're doing it with someone else. So what we have to do is we add an alif, as you can see in red, after the first letter, so it becomes qatala. So qatala means to fight. So when you say or like to kill something, that's something that you're just doing like maybe on your own, whereas qatala, it suggests that you're doing that maybe with other people or against something. So it's kind of like, yeah, you're doing it with someone else. And then he fights, yuqatilu. So we're going to be looking at the conjugations of this in a moment. We just take one more example. Well, here we've got a nice example from the Quran. So, وَمَن يُقَاتِلُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. So this is a form of the verb that comes up quite a lot. So whoever fights in the path of Allah. Here we have to work, so amila means to work, and then ya'malu is he works. If we then do the same thing for form 3, so we add that alif after the first letter, we end up with amala, which means kind of like to work with someone else or to treat someone else. So the way you're acting or working with someone, it becomes kind of like reciprocal sort of thing. So amala with the alif in form 3 means to treat or to do business with someone. Okay, and then we have yu'amilu is he treats. Okay, and here we've got another example. So innahu maham, so he's a lawyer. Wa yajib an ya'amal, or you could say ya'amaluhu, like treat him. Ala hadha al-asas. So we have to treat him as such. Okay, so we also got some other sort of ways in which it can change the meaning. So we've got la samaha Allah, so which is kind of like saying God forbid. So samaha can mean to allow, to permit, to be tolerant of. If we then we change it to form 3 and we add an alif after the first letter, it then becomes one way of saying forgive. So samaha or samahaha, he forgave her. It can also have this idea of repeating something or attempting to do something. So for example, dhakira means to remind, and then one word for to actively study. So when you're actually sitting there with your books, with your notes, that is called dhakara. That's the verb for to study. Darasa is more like formal, I study in a university, for example, or I study Arabic. But when you're talking about actually using the books and sitting down doing the hard work, you tend to use the word dhakira. Sabaka means to proceed. And then sabiku, here we've got sabiku ila maghfiratan min rabbikum. And that means to race. So you're trying to precede something, or you're trying to be before something or someone. So that's where we get this idea of to race. Okay. So here we have our forms of the verb. So if you're not too sure what all of these forms mean, then you can go back to my previous videos where I've explained them a little bit more. But as we can see, each one has this alif in it, which is really important. That's the thing that defines form 3. So we have fa'ala, yufa'ilu, with kasra on the second letter, and then damas at the end. Then we have mufa'il, mufa'al. So again, we've not got much difference between the active participle and the passive participle, so we have to just pay attention. So if we want to look at the word for to revise, then we have yuraji, is to he revises. Muraji'u is like a reviewer. And then if we want to say something was reviewed, for example, muraja'a, and then muraja'a is like reviewing, yeah, or revising, for example, as an active, like the gerund in English or the master. Okay, so here we have it in the present tense, and obviously I'm not going to read it all out, but you can pause the video and make any notes that you need to. Most important thing is dhamma on the beginning bit, as we can see. Yeah, so ukatilu, tukatilu, tukatilin. Yeah, so you can just pause the video and make any notes. Okay, and here we have it again in the past tense. So again, you can pause, make any notes that you need to. It's pretty regular and easier than form 1. We don't have to remember our different vowel sounds, our different harakat. Instead, it all follows the same pattern. Okay. So now I'm going to move on to form 6. So here is a form 3 verb that we've just met. So yuqabil is he meets. When we change it to form 6, then it adds it further reinforces this sense of togetherness. So this is a infinitive. So taqabala, so with the ta at the beginning, that is our infinitive. So that literally means he met up or he met someone. So taqabala, when you really want to emphasize on meeting up with someone. And then yataqabalun is they meet up together. So it's a little bit more kind of like reciprocal than form 3. Very similar meaning though, but it's just an extra level of togetherness. Here's the example that we've just been working with. So qatala is to fight each other, specifically taqatala. So the defining feature of form 6 is still the alif after the first letter that we had in form 3, but we also have the ta at the beginning. There's also a really nice meaning that it can kind of have this sense of like pretending to do something. So for example, marida means to fall ill. Yeah, so you may know that murid, mumarida, this stem, like mumarida is nurse, murid means ill, or marida itself means to fall ill, and then tamarada means to pretend to be sick. So if you want to get out of something and you're pretending to be sick, then that's the verb that you would use. Same with na'asa. So na'asa means to be sleepy, and then tanarasa, again, you want to not do something, for example, so pretending to be. Okay, so here are our different forms. So we have, as we can see, our root form, our past participle is always going to be starting with a ta, with a alif after the first letter. Okay, yatafa'alu And then we can see our active and our passive participles with our one master at the end. So I've put a couple of examples. If we have a look at the root or pasta I've put, tafahama. Now you may, when you look at the root letters of this verb, so tafahama, we have fahama, which means to understand. So you may know ana afham is I understand. So tafahama is like we understand each other. Yeah. So nahnu natafaham is we understand each other. And then mutafahamun is like we have an understanding. So nahnu mutafahamun is like we're on good terms. Yeah, we get on, we have a good understanding with each other. Okay. So here we have our present tense. So again, I'm not going to read through all of them. You can make any notes that you need to. And here we have it as usual in the past tense. So again, a lot more regular. We don't have to worry so much about all of the different vowels. We just have mainly fatha and not having to worry like we do in Form 1 about the vowel changing. Okay, so that is it for today's video on Form 3 and Form 6. I hope that you found it useful, and inshallah I will see you again soon for Form 5. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.